not really a hot seat, it's just two girls having a very, very interesting conversation. But before we get there, any working mother can identify with a constant juggle of career and children. But when your business is bringing breaking news to the world, the pressures you find yourself under can be extreme. Katy Katopodis this morning is here, and she's the head of Eyewitness News. She's an accomplished radio journalist, motivational speaker, and media trainer, and she shares the stories and pressures that see her delicately attempting to balance her dual role as editor Katy and mommy Katerina in her book, I'm Missing News. Good morning, Katy. So good to have you with us this morning. Now, I must say, I think everybody knows you as editor Katy.
Yes.
So it's quite refreshing to, in your book, get to meet mommy Katerina as well, because I think that's a side of you that a lot of us don't see, because we see this powerful, hard-hitting journalist. How difficult or how challenging was it to write this book, and how long did it take you?
You know, Leanne, these are stories that have been swirling around in my head for so long. And the concept started about 18 months ago, maybe 2 years ago. But I didn't actually put pen to paper until January last year, because I was, believe it or not, quite tense about the whole thing and really insecure. I thought, well, can I actually get this book going? And can I actually write this book? And is this a story that people would be interested in? For me, that was really important. Would they want to read it? Would they want these anecdotes from home coupled with the craziness of the news world and what goes on in the newsroom? And once I eventually did it, I mean, I loved the process. Writing this book for me was an amazing process. It's like giving birth to my third child, actually.
Yes. Now, I must tell you, when I saw your name on the cover, I immediately knew it was going to be a good read, because I know you bring that kind of integrity and that kind of professionalism to everything that you do. But before we go on anymore, the title's quite interesting, I'm Missing News, which is something you, by the way, never do. So how did the title come about?
It's such a sweet story. I have two boys.
Yes.
The one is 7 and the one is 3. But when my 7-year-old was a lot younger, he couldn't say Eyewitness News.
Yes.
And of course, Eyewitness News is just such a feature in our house. It's such a feature in our lives. And so he would always say, I'm missing news.
Oh
my mommy works for I'm Missing News.
Oh, that is
or
sweet.
he would say, Mommy, it's I'm Missing News. It's on at the moment. And we never corrected him, because it was just so lovely.
It is precious.
And when we were looking for a title for the book, I remembered that. I thought, oh, he used to call it I'm Missing News. And I think it's very apt, because you feel, and I think this is what the book also talks about, that often you worry that you might be missing. When I'm at home, I worry that I might be missing the goings-on in the newsroom. When I'm in the newsroom, thinking, oh, crikey, am I missing what's going on at home and the news on the home front?
So for anybody who has not read this book, and it's literally hot off the presses, and I was just saying to Katy earlier on, I'm like, how do you get everything to be so current? It's like things just happened yesterday and it's in your book already. When was it printed? But for anybody who is yet to read it, can you give us just a brief synopsis of what they'll find when they go through these pages?
Well, Leanne, what you'll find when you go through the pages is a story of hard news and some of the backstories and what happens when these big breaking stories happen, and also anecdotes of the home life and anecdotes of my 2 little boys and what happens at home. And when we bring it all together, what you'll also find in the book is contribution by amazing and powerful and really accomplished female journalists in South Africa and abroad, actually. And I wanted their stories. I wanted to find out, because it's not just my story. I wanted to find out from other women how they do it, how they balance the world of 24/7 news with this world of home and life and children. And is it possible? Am I an anomaly? Or is it something that other women go through? And the stories which they've come up with are often hysterical. They're often heart-wrenching. You know, it brought a tear to my eye many a time when I was reading their stories. So this is, in essence, what you'll find if you go through the pages of this book.
And that was what was so powerful. And Katy's going to be joining us a little bit later, and we are going to delve into some of the book a little bit more. But what was so powerful to me was that I think a lot of the times we, as women, we put ourselves last. We think the minute we bring little people into the world, that's when our dreams and aspirations get put on the back burner. But what I want to ask you now is, how have you managed, as Katy the editor and Katerina the mommy, to make it work?
You know, Leanne, I so agree with you that there's been this tendency to say, well, we come last. The minute you bring little people in the world, it's we come last and we need to put everything aside. I don't think that has to be. And I think if women have a wonderful support structure, which I am blessed that I do, I'm really lucky about that, I think it is possible to have it. You know, I've got a really supportive husband. We have an amazing nanny at home for my children. My mother is a godsend. So I've got very hands-on people in my life, which allows me to be at home, but also allows me to have a career. I've worked really hard for my career, as have most women, and it wasn't an option for me to give it up or to just dedicate myself to just one thing. So it wasn't an option for me to be just a career woman and not have a family. I wanted that. And at the same time, I didn't want to just have a family and not have something I've worked so hard for.
Well, when we come back a little later, I do want to talk about that delicate balancing act. I want to talk about the hard-hitting kind of features of this book, those things that really, really touch the heart. But when we do come back, but rather before we come back, we are giving away 5 signed copies of I'm Missing News by Katy Katopodis. You could walk away with one of those copies this morning. All you have to do is you just have to SMS the word COMP, that's C-O-M-P, to 33728. Add your name and city, and you could be walking away with one of these awesome books. I must tell you, it is an amazing read. You need to get your hands on it. We'll be right back after this.